we've had primarily more actions coming from the Palestinian resistance in the past 3 days, with intense attacks against Israel, with a recent video showing them targeting Israeli genocide forces in multiple parts of the Gaza Strip, with Yasin 105, pre-made ambushes, missile strikes as well, saying that the most, God writes, the most intense or hardest battles for the strongest men. They're referring to what Israel is conducting inside of Gaza, with the level of bombardment inside of the Gaza Strip. Yet despite that, the Palestinian resistance showed huge attacks against the Israeli genocide forces, whether it's tanks, APCs, bulldozers, and they also had missile launches against the Israeli genocide forces in multiple parts of the Gaza Strip. This is the primary thing that is applying pressure on Israel. This is the primary thing that led Israel to reconsider all of its plans. The military is exhausted. They're talking about that in the Israeli media. Here, the Palestinian resistance targeting 2 personnel carriers, APCs. Each one of them has approximately 14 people, 12 to 17, depending on the version, destroying 2 of them. This is just now by the Palestinian resistance, despite all of the barbarism and genocide coming from Israel. This is leading the army to be completely exhausted. Over half of the people are refusing to serve in the Israeli army. And also, Israel is facing huge pressure internally. Here, the Palestinian resistance also was having mortar attacks on multiple parts of the Israeli army in Gaza. And as you can see, they also have the cameras recording, the drones recording, and some of them are heavy mortars, either by the armed wing of Hamas, and in other attacks by the armed wings of the PIJ and the resistance committees in Gaza, the Salah ad-Din brigades. Heavy attacks against the genocide forces inside of the Gaza Strip. But apart from that, there were also huge protests taking place inside of Israel, with the people paralyzing the country. Hundreds of thousands paralyzed Tel Aviv, and even Gallant joined them. Huge moves coming from the Israeli public, people protesting, people having a complete shutdown of the country, and they're saying that they're going to do the same thing again next Sunday. The numbers that we're seeing in the Israeli streets in the past 24 to 48 hours have been huge. This is one of them in central Israel. And protests took place in multiple other parts as well. So we have this huge pressure internally, people threatening to shut down the Israeli economy. Israel, of course, trying to hide as much as possible the level of destruction in their economy. By the way, with so many of in the technology sector completely leaving the country with all of their money, many of Israel's billionaires leaving too. And Benjamin Netanyahu constantly tries to hide that, let alone the downgrading by Moody's and other rating agencies globally, something that affected Israel heavily, and it significantly affects all of the foreign investments that are happening inside of Israel. So we have the resistance in Gaza, we have the internal pressure, we have the global pressure from the global free people of the world applying pressure on their governments to apply pressure on Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu realizes that it's only gonna escalate, and the Israeli army has no capacity to go and take the Gaza Strip that easily. They can destroy, they can attack, they have been destroying, they have been killing people. Children have been dying of starvation the past few days in Gaza, but the Palestinian resistance always prevails. Israel had huge attacks from the beginning until now. That did not stop the Palestinian resistance. So what are we talking about with this ceasefire agreement exactly? What are the details of it? So there were multiple reports coming from Arab media and also from Israeli media. For example, in Al Mayadeen, they spoke with an official from the Palestinian resistance side, who spoke to them about the ceasefire and about what the ceasefire actually includes. They said that this proposal, according to the report in Al Mayadeen, calls for 1,000-meter withdrawal from the northern and eastern Gaza Strip, with the exception of Shuja'iyya and Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip. That means Israel had a U-turn, clearly, with the level of depth of it, what they call the parameter. That parameter means how much Israel can still occupy or remain in during that ceasefire, because we're still talking about a temporary ceasefire here. Israel wanted 2,000 meters or 2 kilometers in. That was refused by the Palestinian side. Now they agreed on 1,000 meters or a kilometer in certain locations only, which is similar to what happened on the 17th of June, like with the Netzarim line, where they had a depth of approximately 1 kilometer. In other areas, it was between 500 to 750 meters. Then the same source told Al Mayadeen that 10 living prisoners and 140 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences in exchange for 10 living Israeli prisoners, 60 prisoners serving sentences of more than 15 years, and 1,500 prisoners from the Gaza Strip will be released. So we're talking about thousands of Palestinian prisoners in exchange for 10 living Israeli prisoners, alongside the bodies of some of the Israeli prisoners of war, because the Palestinian resistance will not be releasing everyone if it's not an all-out deal. Then, a few other important bits. The redeployment maps, of course, changed. The level of aid is going to be significant. For the first time, they're confirming that the GHF will hardly have any role. Most of the role will go to the Red Crescent and also to the United Nations as well. From an Israeli side, they said that Israel will have concessions. Multiple Israeli media outlets said that there will be concessions from the Israeli side, and that it will still be at this stage temporary. Another very important thing that Israeli media spoke about was the fact that, and that was also reported in Arab media too, was the fact that the United States accepted this response coming from Hamas. They said that they were briefed of the details of the proposal, and they also supported it. Other sources said that the mediators viewed the position of Hamas in that response as positive too. So there was an acceptance of the proposal that was submitted to them by the American side without any further comments. Israel is saying that 98% of the details have been already agreed upon, and now the ball is in Benjamin Netanyahu's court. Now the big question is, well, how can this process have any chances of success, seeing as the United States and Israel always back down from previous agreements that they had? There were multiple statements coming from people within the Israeli government, like the Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, who said that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu does not have a mandate for a partial deal. The Minister of Finance previously stated that Israel is going to continue up until they eliminate everyone, and we have the right to starve them even and not allow water in. But countries surrounding Israel told us that, you know, you need to help us help you, and that's why we're acting like that, so that we can help these other countries help us by pretending like some aid is going in. However, the man is also delusional, and was a very well-known delusional personality when he thought that Israel was capable of acting upon all of those messages that came from Donald Trump previously. But in reality, Israel on the ground is incapable. They are under immense pressure. There are more threats of escalation happening from within Israel. And also, they are faced with an increasing threat from Iran. All of these things could lead Israel to accept a ceasefire this time, and still that could take multiple weeks to accomplish.